Ja, jetzt noch das muss es.
Hey, my name is Seb, and welcome to Notebook LM by Google. It's on notebooklm.google.com. This is another thing that Google has made, which will probably die in the next few months. We all know Google. And it has a podcast feature. So I wrote a poem and I fed it into it. I'm gonna read it firstly for y'all, and you can interpret it yourself and you can write a comment about it, how you would interpret this poem, you know? I didn't write a poem. I give up, I quit. I love poems, I must admit, but now I'm against it. Let me tell you, poetry is something I love. It feels like the sky above, it fits me like a glove and... Fuck, I've been speaking in rhymes, didn't I? I don't know how I'm failing at this. Why can't I rebel? How do I simply not miss? It's going too well. Okay, let me tell you differently. Poems. White paper. Writing, thinking, listening. This is cinquain. Shit. This is the last time. I will not write another. And this is a haiku. I don't even want to write one. This is simply not fun. No, I hate this art form. Ruined by all this here, you know. Poems make me feel happy and warm. But I might not write one tomorrow. I wrote a poem. What do you think? Was it a good poem? Was it a bad poem? It's been a while since I wrote one. Oh yeah, I wrote this one on the 23rd of June 2024. So it's been a while, it's been half a year. Anyway, and this tool has made a podcast about it, and I need to share it with somebody. So I'm using this project just to make an episode about it, because this is weird. So this quote-unquote podcast episode is called OD to Not Write a Poem.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we are going to do a deep dive into something a little different.
Also, by the way, this is going to be like a real reaction, so I'm going to stop a lot and talk about my feelings. And already, it's like, what the fuck? Since when can AI do this? Anyway, yeah, these two are unnamed people. One is a woman, one is a man, and they're talking about my poem.
Yeah. So instead of like a whole bunch of articles or a book or whatever,
right,
we're looking at just one piece.
Okay.
It's called
The One Piece? Sorry.
You didn't write a poem.
By me.
Interesting.
It's really interesting, and like the title itself is kind of funny, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's setting us up for something. Like, are we going to read a poem or are we not going to read a poem?
At that point, I thought like, okay, this AI is stupid. But then I think about it. Some people on podcasts are really like that, aren't they? They're like this cheesy, you know? And I hate cheese.
Exactly, and it's like this idea that we often kind of do the thing we say we're not going to do.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and I think that's something everybody listening can probably relate to.
For sure.
And so right away, this piece, your humor in it kind of jumps out at you.
Yeah.
The author starts off by saying, I give up, I quit.
I mean, it's not really start off. It's, I didn't write a poem, which in turn says I wrote a poem. But like, it's the second line. I can like look away. Podcasters do that too.
Yeah.
When it comes to poetry. But then immediately is like, well, but you know, those haikus and cinquains.
Yeah.
Like, those get me.
Right away.
It's like there's...
I didn't say that. I said first there's cinquain, and then I said haiku. It's like I accidentally used these two forms of poetry.
Setting up this battle between what they intend to do and then what their creative impulses are.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder if that struggle is something deeper than just humor.
Oh, how do you mean?
Well, like maybe...
Oh god, that's so weird. Oh, what do you mean? Oh god, that's so weird. What the fuck? And I mean, what I'm complaining about, it's not like, oh, they're so stupid, me. No. What I'm saying is, I'm pointing out things that are wrong, which podcasters could definitely do. They could also get things right. I'm not saying podcasts are the most stupid thing as a media. No, podcasts are cool. But what I'm saying is just fucking weird.
The author is dealing with some ideas about what's okay to do in writing, or even like a fear of being too open.
Oh, that's a really good point, because when you put yourself out there creatively, it can feel very vulnerable.
Absolutely. And I mean, everyone's been there.
That's weird, because I wrote this poem, I think it was for English class. We need to write a poem. And then the whole class would choose which poem is the best. I wrote this poem for it. I wanted to write something different. I don't remember what it was, but I scrapped it. Because I didn't want it to write something too out of the ordinary, you know? So they get it. That's weird.
For sure.
When you're putting your work out in the world and it's like, are people gonna like this?
Oh, yeah.
Is this any good?
Totally.
Yeah.
And the author keeps playing with this contradiction throughout the whole piece, almost like tripping over their own words.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like
yeah,
there's
you could
this
see
line,
it that way.
"It feels like the sky above it fits me like a glove."
Yeah.
It's like the rhyme just,
Yeah. They're a bit too into the poetry. It feels like the sky above. It fits me like a glove. Yeah. Okay, sorry for being immature. But that sometimes the AI is a bit weird, yeah.
sneaks in there even though they're trying to resist it.
Yeah, like language has its own music, doesn't it?
It really does.
Even when we try to break free from structure, our brains just want those patterns and rhythms.
Yeah, and the author specifically mentions cinquains and haikus.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
are pretty specific poetic forms. So what do you think about that choice?
Well, it makes me think that the author isn't just rejecting poetry altogether, they're actually engaging with it.
By accident.
By using those forms, even while saying they're resisting poetry, it shows they actually know a lot about it.
That's true.
It's like a playful rebellion.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're wrong, by the way. I mean, yeah, they are. They don't have a brain. But how I see it, they're right just how I'm right. So, yeah, it's like you could interpret it as a playful rebellion.
And then there's the emotional journey that the piece takes us on. It starts with this defiance, and then it moves into this almost frustrated feeling of like, why can't I escape poetry? And then ends with this confession. I wrote a poem.
It is a journey,
Yeah.
and it's one that a lot of us go through, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Especially when we are trying to be creative.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think maybe this is about that fear we all have of expressing ourselves honestly? Like maybe the author is working through their own feelings about poetry by actually writing. And then they get to this place of acceptance or even pride.
Yeah.
There's something powerful about that last line, don't you think?
And this is where I thought, fuck, maybe this AI knew me better than I knew myself at that moment when I wrote this. Because I was fearing that, in a way. I tried to cover it up with humor. And that's weird. I mean, yes, I was mad at English class that we were forced to write something. I hate when people are being forced to be creative. Creativity is a process of creativity, basically. And you can't force creativity. But I was also fearing being seen as weird.
Definitely a feeling of coming full circle.
Yeah.
So what do you think this all means for us as readers, or even as creators ourselves?
Well, I didn't write a poem. It uses humor and self-awareness.
I forgot this. Hey Bertie, what do you think this means as readers? Well, I didn't write a poem. Fair point, Betty. I didn't either.
To show us what happens.
This is
As
weird.
readers,
But
or even
funny.
as creators ourselves.
Well, I didn't write a poem. Uses humor and self-awareness to show us what happens when our intentions clash with our creative side.
Right.
It shows us that even when we try to do one thing, we might end up doing something totally different.
Exactly. And that can be a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
So it really leaves us with a question for everyone listening. Have you ever found yourself doing something you swore you never would?
Yeah, I didn't write a poem, but I did actually.
Whether it's creatively, or with your habits, or even just changing your mind about something.
It's a good question to think about.
Yeah, because those moments can teach us a lot about ourselves.
Totally.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive into I Didn't Write a Poem.
Yeah, this was a fun one.
And until next time, keep exploring those contradictions. You never know what you might find.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. What I noticed about this AI is that it's spliced up into multiple sections. I feel like that, well, I didn't write a poem, might be actually where either it ended or it began. But yeah, this is brilliant. And it actually could help you, like with like a Wikipedia article about the Cold War of Germany or quantum physics, that you can maybe learn through that. Now, should you trust AI with learning? AI is of course untrustworthy, but so far it seems to work. Of course, I'm not saying my poem is good. It's decent at best. But I hope you enjoyed my poem, and I guess this reaction about an AI podcast about my poem. Thank you all for watching, and don't forget, we'll meet each other. I'll see you tomorrow.